Finally, 13 years after Robin Gibbs died, people are starting to talk about the private fights he fought. For a long time, his kids kept what they knew secret, only telling stories that the public could only guess at. But time has a way of making you tell the truth, especially when it is too heavy to keep inside. Today, they're not hiding the man behind the song anymore. They're talking about him. The first few years and the start of a broken mythology. Before people talked about the stories and scandals, Robin Hugh Gibb was just a baby born on December 22nd, 1949, in the Jane Croker maternity home on the Isle of Man. He got there only 35 minutes before his twin brother Maurice. Hugh and Barbara Gibb were affectionate, musical, and restless parents who moved their kids from the Isle of Man to Manchester, then across the world to Redcliffe, Australia. Those first several years were crazy. Adults were disturbed about the boys' troublemaking, little fires, pranks, and juvenile stunts, but they were also a sign of the strong creativity that was blooming inside them. The Gibb brothers found the one thing that could quiet all that energy by the middle of the 1950s: harmony. Barry, Robin, and Maurice started sitting together and trying to match the sounds of the Everly Brothers and Paul Anka. They naturally fell into the tightly layered vocals that would later characterize the generation. They started the Rattlesnakes in 1955 and played at Manchester halls with a rawness that made people look twice. They changed their name to Wee Johnny Hayes and the Blue Cats when 2 members left. In 1958, the family made a decision that would change their lives forever. They got on a ship to Australia, not knowing that they were sailing with a young Red Simons, who would also become a musician. The brothers found the fresh start they needed in Australia. They sang "Time Is Passing By" on Strictly for Moderns for the first time on TV in 1960. Robin's tremolo, which was gentle, trembling, and surprisingly mature, stood out even when he was 10 years old. Festival Records signed them in the middle of the 1960s, and they quickly became famous with their first singles. And when Robin sang lead on "I Don't Think It's Funny" in 1965, people recognized something clear. This voice didn't sound like a child's voice anymore. It was the voice that the world would mourn decades later. But even though they were having a lot of success as teenagers, things were already starting to go wrong. Fame was coming quickly, and the brothers weren't ready for what it would cost. Love, confusion, and the first big fall. Robin Gibbs' personal life became just as crazy as the Bee Gees' music career in the late 1960s, but it was far less stable. He married Molly Hullis, the secretary for their manager, Robert Stigwood, when he was only 18 years old. Their friendship was built on suffering, not elegance. During the fatal Green Rail tragedy, which killed about 50 people and hurt many more, the two were together. Getting through that catastrophe formed a bond that felt indestructible at the time. For a while, it looked like Robin had everything: fame, love, and the start of a future that seemed stable at first. But celebrity is not always kind. In the early 1970s, Robin lived largely in the US, while Molly stayed in the UK to raise their kids, Spencer and Melissa. Their marriage fell apart because they were always apart. Robin's emotional instability got worse because the stress, lack of sleep, and the responsibilities of touring, which made the cracks even worse. He started using stimulants like amphetamine and methadone, which are medications that musicians often use to keep awake during long recording sessions. Later, friends said that Robin's emotions changed all the time. He would have bursts of energy followed by crashes of tiredness, long nights of anxiety, and a growing concern that people, even Molly and her lawyers, were plotting against him. Molly divorced him in 1980 after years of living apart. It didn't take long for the split to turn sour. Robin broke a court order by talking about their marriage in public, and the results were bad. In 1983, he spent 14 days in jail. At the height of his reputation throughout the world, it was a humiliating moment for him. It was also one of the first public signals that his internal struggles were far worse than admirers thought. Robin looked for solace in new beginnings, even as his personal life was falling apart. He married Dwina Murphy Gibb in 1985. She was an artist and writer whose spiritual ideas and creativity were similar to his. She became both his partner and collaborator, helping him get back the steadiness he had lost. But even this new marriage had its own problems, which the world wouldn't find out about for many years. Betrayals, secrets, and the whispers that never went away. For years, people could only speculate what was going on inside Robin Gibb's house. From the outside, his second marriage to Dwina Murphy Gibb, which started in 1985, looked tranquil. Two creative people are making a life for themselves between Miami, the Isle of Man, and their medieval property in Oxfordshire, the Prebendal. But the setup was everything but normal on the surface. The truth would only come out after Robin died. Dwina and Robin were married, but they were not open about it. No one knew this during his life. And out of that openness emerged one of the most shocking rumors that had been going about for years: the affair. Around 2001, when Robin was almost 50, he started dating Claire Yang, who worked as a maid for the Gibb family. The two were together for a few years, and in 2008, Claire had Robin's daughter, Snow. To people who weren't involved, it appeared like a scandal that was about to go wrong. But no one realized at the time that Dwina already knew what was going on and had accepted it. Her later statements were quiet, almost peaceful. She wasn't envious, and Claire and Snow were well. Her statements validated what admirers had only whispered about for years. Even though Dwina agreed, the situation nevertheless caused stress in the family. Robin had a hard time dealing with the emotional instability of two homes, his dedication to his older children, and the remorse he felt about a relationship that had gone too far. His longing for peace, both in music and in his personal life, was always at odds with decisions that made every element of his existence more difficult. The trouble didn't end there. Robin also had trouble at work. There was a lot of tension between Barry Gibb and the other members of the band over who should sing lead, going back to when Massachusetts became famous in 1967. Robin felt like Barry was getting more and more powerful, both as a singer and as a creative person. That anger led to their split in 1969. And even after getting back together in 1970, they still had bad feelings toward each other. Fans only heard perfect harmony. But behind the microphones, the brothers fought over who was in charge, who they were, and who had the right to be heard. Robin's personal problems and those unresolved feelings were the basis for the rumors that never went away. Rumors that his kids are finally ready to talk about. Loss, feeds, and a family that is no longer whole. The Bee Gees' harmonies were famous, but the family who lived behind them was just as famous for fighting as it was for love. The first big break happened in 1969 when Robin quit the group for a short time because he wanted to be in charge of the creative process. The wounds healed, but they never totally went away. The death of Maurice Gibb in 2003 was a blow that no one could have seen coming. Robin's twin brother, who had always been the one to calm things down between Barry and Robin. The loss of Maurice broke the delicate equilibrium that kept the family together. Barry, who was already grieving, got very angry right after Maurice died because he thought Yvonne, Maurice's wife, and her family were making a tribute CD to make money instead of love. He felt left out and blindsided. The argument turned into a public quarrel, with Barry publicly saying that Maurice's legacy was being used. Robin was stuck in the center of it all. He really wanted to honor his twin, but the fight between Barry and Yvonne's side made every step hurt. People said that Robin kept working on Bee Gees projects while Barry pulled back since he was hurt and disappointed. The public observed a fight over an album. Robin's kids have subsequently said that there was more to the fight than just what they said. It was about loss, identity, and who should speak for the Bee Gees after Morris died. The gap between Barry and Robin only got bigger over the next 10 years. In the early 2000s, they hardly talked to each other. And sadly, Robin never told Barry that he was sick with cancer. Barry subsequently said that he only found out about the sickness when Robin was already dying, which broke his heart. Barry didn't understand the stillness. For Robin, it was a sign of years of emotional isolation and wounds that hadn't healed. Fans have long suspected what Robin's kids now confirm. The brothers cared about each other sincerely, but celebrity, competition, and grief erected walls between them that none of them could ever really break down. And when Robin went into his last fight, those unresolved problems were still there between them. Heavy, long-lasting, and sad. The last fight and the miracle that everyone remembers. Robin Gibb was fighting a war he couldn't hide anymore by 2011. The diagnosis was terrible. Colon cancer had already spread to his liver. He still showed hope, even if his body was getting weaker. In interviews, he kept saying he will get better. His voice was weaker and his body was weaker, but he never lost hope. Later, people who were close to him said that he held onto that notion with a level of resolve that was almost defiance. The treatment was really hard. He started to lose himself to surgeries, rounds of chemotherapy, and relentless discomfort, but Robin wouldn't stop working. Even while he was hooked up to hospital infusions, he kept writing the Titanic for Kukun with his son RJ. It was a symphonic homage to the 100th anniversary of the Titanic catastrophe. The endeavor was more than just music for Robin. It was a metaphor for his own struggles, tragedies, and the human desire to keep going even when everything is falling apart. The sickness took over his body by April 2012. He got pneumonia and fell into a coma. The physicians discreetly told the family that there was nothing more they could do. Dwina, RJ, and other loved ones were by his side, getting ready for the end. But then, in a moment that his kids still can't believe, the impossible happened. Robin's fingers started to quiver when Dwina played music from the Titanic Requiem in the room. A few moments later, he opened his eyes. He grinned. Doctors said it was a medical oddity. RJ said it was a miracle. For a short time, Robin was back, chatting softly, humming songs, and telling his family he wanted to go back on the stage. He was still thinking about music, dreaming of performing, and battling the only way he knew how, even though he was getting weaker and weaker. But the miracle didn't last long. His kidneys failed, then his liver, and the sickness devoured all the vigor he had left. Robin passed away on May 20th, 2012, at the age of 62, with Dwina, RJ, and those who loved him most by his side. Dwina said that he died peacefully, with a smile on his face, holding her hand, not fearful and full of song to the end. That moment showed his kids who he really was. Kind, hopeful, and never giving up. A man who wouldn't allow suffering stop him from speaking. What his kids are finally saying after the hush. After Robin Gibb died, his family stayed silent, just like they always had, to safeguard his privacy. But as time went on, his kids, especially RJ Gibb, started to speak out in public, not to hurt him, but to explain him. And by doing this, they validated many of the rumors that had followed Robin for decades, filling in the missing pieces of a life that was much more intricate than fans ever witnessed. Dwina was one of the first people to reveal something. She calmly said that she and Robin had an open marriage, a fact that very few people knew about during his life. She said that the affair with Claire Yang and the birth of Snow in 2008 were not betrayals in the way people thought they were, and that Snow was taken care of and Claire had been taken care of. Dwina's voice was calm and not angry. Her honesty proved what had been said for a long time but never substantiated. The Gibb family had regulations that the public didn't know about. After that, there were specifics about Robin's estate. His will left most of his estimated £26 million to Dwina Spencer Melissa and RJ Snow. Snow was not identified as a key beneficiary, although he was taken care of discreetly. Something the family didn't want to be made into a big deal or a fight. They said that they had purposely kept the affair private to avoid the legal and emotional fights that had torn apart other celebrity families. RJ's memories of his father's last moments were the most powerful of all. He said that as his father was dying, he held Robin's head and whispered, "We love you." He told anecdotes from his boyhood about late-night studio sessions where he would watch Robin compose music, not because he had to, but because he didn't know how to live without it. RJ now plays some of Robin's unreleased pieces, making sure that his father's artistic voice lives on long after he dies. Robin's kids' statements verified what so many people thought. Robin Gibb was a man who was motivated by love, tortured by inner fights, and kept going by music till the end. Their voices completed the story he started but never finished. Robin Gibbs had a life full of ups and downs, and now his kids are finally telling the facts he never got to explain. What Robin Gibbs' song has stuck with you the longest? Please tell me below. And if you want to hear more stories about famous musicians, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the next one.